here talking with Darrell Bock. He's been on campus this week. Darrell Bock's world-renowned New Testament scholar. We're in how many books now?
I have no idea what the total is.
Lots of books. He doesn't keep track.
Well over 30, yeah.
Yeah, has written lots of just various times from technical scholarship to popular works to things for teenagers. So check out the stuff that Darrell is doing. And also, Darrell wears this he's a switch hitter. He's in the world of scholarship, but he's also in this world of cultural engagement. And we're talking to him about cultural engagement. In particular, what I want to ask you about is a way to do cultural engagement, not the issues, but in the tone and how we go about it. Tell us how we should do this, maybe without being too specific, maybe some examples of how to do it poorly and how we should do it better as Christians.
Well, the main thing is you engage culture with a reminder always in the back of your head that you're making an invitation for people to step into the grace of God. So it's an opportunity to challenge them about the way they're living, that's for sure. But in the midst of that, doing it with an extended hand that says God loves you and cares for you. Jesus Christ came to die for you and to call you back to himself into a living relationship with the living God. So there's a tone in the midst of it, even in the midst of some challenge that sometimes comes, that always extends a hand and is offering an invitation to people to share in the grace of God. And we have lots of negative examples of people who are basically, take the turn or burn approach, which and basically challenge people without having any communication of a sense of the deep love and care of God that sends his own son to go to the cross to die for our sin because he loves and cares for us. In fact, he loves and cares for us enough that even if we decide to be without him, he honors that choice. And we also suffer the consequences for it, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So the call is to engage in a way that is winsome and positive. Doesn't mean you don't challenge, doesn't mean that there aren't things you stand for, but there's a way to do it that keeps within it some sense of invitation and accessibility. It's interesting that Jesus was able to do this in his ministry. He challenged people. He talked about what the standards of God were, but the people, even on the fringe, sensed that there was an availability of God and accessibility that he represented that was a reflection of his ministry and his caring. And so we need to reflect that in how we engage.
So tone is obviously one thing. The other thing that I've seen from my perspective is sometimes the questions that Christians are answering aren't the questions that people are actually asking. Mm-hmm. So you've been doing this a while. What are the questions that, in our context, and I know you spent time even this summer in Australia and Europe, but in our context, what are some of the main questions, and then if you can, are those the same that are being asked overseas and to our European neighbors in Australia?
I think the difficulty here is that I'm not sure people are asking questions about God in some cases. They're going on with their lives, and they don't even know, in some cases, or sense or have a need for God. That's one level. That's certainly one group. There's another group that is asking questions, pursuing spirituality, but doing it very much out of a diversity background that basically treats religion as take your pick. You're at a bazaar, a cafeteria, take the religion that fits you, and there really isn't much difference. We're all trying to do the same thing. There's nothing different. So I think it's important in the context of engaging, explaining how Christianity is distinct in the way it approaches the issue of spirituality, the issue of religion, the issue of reconnecting to God, where it puts the onus and the burden for what it is that saves us in places where we see God extending his grace and God doing something on our behalf, as opposed to our doing something that merits or entitles us to salvation. Most other religions put the onus or the burden for getting saved or establishing a relationship or being spiritually totally on our own shoulders. Christianity says, no, this restored relationship with God is a gift of his grace which you receive by faith. It's something you cannot do for yourself. There's no way to earn it. There's no way to be entitled to it. So you just need to humbly submit in faith and recognize your need for a relationship with God and come to him on his terms. And his terms are to seek forgiveness, which he graciously offers on his behalf through Jesus Christ. And that then brings you into life, gives you the gift of the Spirit, restores that relationship, and gives you enablement and capability and a caring dimension to your life that reconnects you with the purpose of why God created you in his image to begin with.
Yeah. So on one hand, you're saying if I can summarize that, on one hand you're saying, well, people aren't even necessarily asking the questions, and we've got to figure ways into this so we can connect them to God.
Right. Usually those ways in have to do with getting people to talk about why they think they're here, what's the purpose of life, what drives them, that kind of thing. Getting what I call a spiritual GPS, getting a reading on where they are spiritually and why, kind of getting a mapping of where they are and why. And in the midst of doing that, oftentimes you can see ways in to have the conversations that really hopefully will lead them to reflect, if they aren't asking questions, on perhaps questions either they haven't thought about or can think about afresh as a result of what it is you're talking with them about.
Yeah, I like how you put this. I like how you do this, Darrell, because even teaching the other day, we were in an apologetics course. We were talking about apologetics, and the first day somebody said, one of 20-year-old student said something along the lines of, "I'm in apologetics because I want to crush those atheists." And we just had this teaching time where I stopped, and I think he was partly kidding, but it's like, is that what we're doing in apologetics? Is that what we're doing even broadly in cultural engagement? Let's crush those who don't think like us, who have different political views than us. And that was an important teaching time for my class. And I think what I hear you when I see you modeling is that no, the goal here is actually to connect people to God, which means we love them, which affects our tone.
Yeah, exactly right. And then we're not crushing anybody. We're actually trying to say to someone, you're in the same, we're all in the same boat and have the same need for a restored relationship with the living God. We think we've found where that restored relationship can be found, and we're happy to talk to you about that possibility and what it can mean for transforming your life. And we think that's a positive thing that we're offering people. And so we do it not as a way to challenge them, or there's a challenge in it, but not as a way to crush them, but as a way of extending a hand to them and saying, this is a life worth living, a life of purpose that's connected to the one who created you.
Yeah. Darrell, thanks so much for joining us.